Hello, everybody. This is Black Mesa Radio. Durka, durka, durka. This is your host, Chase.
Nate.
Josh.
And we got another guy, another Seth.
We have a special guest.
We
Seth.
surprised him. He wasn't quite ready for this intro. This is Seth Fellenstien.
Hello, everyone.
Filling in for Seth Turnage.
Not to be confused with the other Seth.
Yeah.
We call him the Dragon or Bearded Seth.
The bearded dragon.
Right, to distinguish me from non-bearded Seth.
Exactly.
Which is normally here.
He can't grow facial hair. He hasn't.
He
got
has a
to-
goatee.
It's not facial hair.
That's true.
There's no sideburns. Sideburns is the ultimate sign of manliness.
Ah.
Mutton chops actually
Martin
is the
Van
ultimate.
Buren.
Get to the
That one.
Get to the
Yes.
subject.
Today we're going to talk about space, Mars One, and everything in between.
60 seconds. Pick up and go. 30 seconds. We copy you down, Eagle. The Eagle has landed.
So recently, we found out that the Mars One was most definitely a hoax, and we got into the discussion of, is it actually possible though? Is it a technology problem? Is it a financial problem? Or what the heck is going on? Why is Mars One a hoax? But we decided that either way, we want a actual Mars One event to occur because we want a reality TV show on Mars.
First off,
Also, I want to live in a universe where space travel is...
yeah, no, definitely.
yes.
Definitely. But first off, for listeners, Mars One, we should probably explain what that is. It was a privately funded endeavor to colonize Mars on a one-way trip. The people volunteered, it was like, what, 200 people? Something like that? Volunteered to,
I think it was 2,000
was it?
people who applied for it.
No, I'm just saying that actually, like, were brought in.
Chosen as finalists.
Chosen. I thought it was
or whatever.
200.
Oh.
I may be wrong. I
I
don't
thought
know.
it was less than that.
It was 20.
Yeah, maybe 20.
I can't remember. Anyway, they basically volunteered to die on Mars. Like, go to Mars and then die. But the more, do other stuff there. They weren't just going to launch them into the planet and then explode. Like, they were going to have, like, pods and stuff set up, like, already.
The ultimate reality TV show. You don't even know you're going to die. But
It's like on Roller Coaster Tycoon when you build like half of a ride and the cars like shoot off
ready
and
to
blow
go.
up on the sidewalk.
oh, I love that game.
But yeah, anyway, so Mars One was that. It was a endeavor to colonize Mars that the more of the astronauts that volunteered are coming out and saying, like, it's rubbish. It's not real. It was a scam.
So before we get to the science behind it and the feasibility of it, do we know who was supposedly funding this and why they did this?
I'd have to pull it
With
up.
the
I'm
power
not
of the
good with
internet, I
names.
can find out real quick.
It was a Kenyan prince.
Was it really?
Yeah, he sent out emails.
Nigerian?
Nigerian prince?
Nigerian, yeah, my bad.
I
Sorry.
was like, why is he keep...
Sorry. I don't know a lot about Africa. But
I don't remember his name, but his
And
idea...
he said if you just fund this trip to Mars, that you'll get the money back, like,
Yeah.
10 times over.
But on Mars, though.
Right.
All they need is your
Mars
social
currency.
security number.
well, that was
Mars
his thing.
bucks.
He thought
you can
if he
spend it with
could
the
get-
Mars store.
if he could get people to donate, like donate to this mission of science. So it's kind of a, applying to your, what is that, your ethos?
Oh, yeah.
And then he was trying to get your money to get donated for that. And then when it was there, he was like, we're going to make $6 billion on this awesome, reality TV show, which quite possibly could have happened. Does it remind anybody of the Hunger Games, sending people there to die?
I don't know. I just want to know if they would continue filming when someone...
live, dog.
What I want to know is when someone got the space madness and started murdering everybody else
Became
with their
Reavers?
with their super Mars strength, because you would be super strong on Mars.
This isn't
I've
Sunshine,
seen John
Josh.
Carter. I know how this goes.
So what?
This isn't Sunshine, Josh.
I love sunshine.
I know.
But no, like, you would be super strong on Mars.
You would for
Wait,
a little
what?
bit, but your muscles
Eventually they would
and your
atrophy.
bones would atrophy.
Because the,
because the
low gravity.
Just build a
Okay.
weight room on Mars. And then you stay
Dude, that's funny. That's like the real problem is that they think they can do this, but the body doesn't adapt to it. Just the constant force of gravity is so important. That's why they're about to send, NASA is about to send a year-long mission into the International Space Station. Previously, the longest one has been 6 months.
Have you ever seen the guys that like come back from that? Like when they come back?
They're like bed rest.
They look awful.
Yeah,
Like,
they can't walk or anything.
Yeah,
They're just
their bone density is so weak sauce.
They
from,
can't
like, not
even
having the force of gravity on
because
their
of
bones.
gravity. Their eyes can't pull themselves up, so they can't even like look at anything.
But it wouldn't be that bad on Mars. But it's
it would be
different.
substantially better because some gravity is better than
Right.
no
Well,
gravity.
here's the thing about the feasibility. On the current propulsion systems, it would take you about 18 months to get to Mars. So you're in zero gravity for 18 months. And you're going to get to a planet with, let's say, 2/3 the gravitational force. Either way, we don't know what 18 months is going to do in no gravity.
Well,
so when you get there, you may not be able to take care of yourself or anybody else. So you might just starve
Once
to death.
once we come up with gene doping that'll allow for like the cancellation of myostatin in your body, like, and you can just be double muscled without like ever working out. Like, dude, that could make it a lot more.
That
feasible,
would
I
be
think.
interesting if you had
What about
supplement that altered your DNA at a certain point in time where it just began to build muscle on its own as long as you had the proper nutrition.
that'd be terrifying.
They're working on that.
That's so scary.
They've done
what
it
if,
in mice.
What if it mutates and you like turn all like Kira monster?
Well, it seems like it would, well, that's a possibility. It seems like it would have to happen if they're going to be in space and zero gravity that long.
Hang on. What's the longest stint in space is? Well, that's a space flight.
Wow.
437 days.
Oh.
dude,
so over a year.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't even imagine like.
So almost 18
Who-
months.
Was that just to get a record?
No, that was just consecutive on the space station.
Huh. Well, I was on
thought there
NASA's
had been somebody up
That's
there a
not the
year, but-
norm, though.
I'm sure. Yeah, they said I was on NASA's website and they said that the norm was about 4 to 6 months
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the typical stints that they have up there. And of course, the technology that we have in specifically studying the effects of weight loss. I'm sorry, not weight loss, but of weightlessness. Interesting side note. You're not actually weightless in space. You're just in a free fall because you're so far away from the gravitational center of specifically the Earth. The gravitational force is so low that it's just pulling you ever so slowly. You can't detect it. So you're just in free fall.
Well, that makes sense to me because, like, even the sun is putting sun and the moon are putting gravity on you.
Yeah,
even while we're
yeah.
here on Earth, it's just so weak that you don't feel it at all. So that makes sense.
Gravity is so weird.
Isn't that crazy? Like, you actually do feel the gravity of the moon, like, not like consciously,
Tides.
but you do. I mean, we have tides, so obviously there's an effect, a gravitational effect, and obviously there's the whole women thing. But I think men have it as well.
You feel it in your cycle, Chase?
I do right now. I mean, we hang out all the time. We're all synced up, right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yep.
It does sync up though, right? Because like the pheromones and stuff.
I don't know if it's pheromones.
I'm not
but
sure
yeah.
the reason behind it, but it does happen.
If
Like,
there
they
was a
do it-
woman here, they could be like, "It's this. You guys are."
No,
I was watching
random
this thing where
side
this guy
note.
was talking about with like, okay, yeah, I am completely ignorant to like women's issues, basically almost entirely ignorant. But like they've done with like gerbils, they'll like take.
Whoa. That is so misogynistic.
No, it's not.
Comparing women to gerbils.
What, dude? People compare us to rats all the time.
No, we're pigs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, pigs.
You don't even know your own gender properly.
What were you going to say about gerbils?
That doesn't matter.
Go.
I wanna know now.
Gerbil,
Nah.
go.
Because I'm not going to say it anymore
Moment's
because
over.
like I don't even really remember exactly how the experiment went, so it's kind of pointless.
Getting back to gravity, though, we could talk about. We can talk about also what I was going to talk about this week
Talk
because
about it.
that goes along with what we're talking about now.
Do it. Yep.
Like next week, which today is Thursday, March 26th. So I think it's on. I don't know when it is. Sometime next week, the Hadron Collider, CERN is going to kick it back up. They're going to shoot particles at a faster level than they've ever shot particles before.
Pretty much going to amp it up. They're going to
Yeah.
go to like.
So they're really trying to kill us this time.
Yes.
Before they were so scared that they were going to create black holes. They're like, let's not pump it up full juice yet. Let's just see what happens. So
Except-
they've been slowly pumping it up. Go ahead.
And this time, they're trying to make black holes. They're like, we think we know what'll happen. We think they'll just fizzle out. They'll be about the weight of a car, like a pinpoint, the weight of a car that'll just blink in and out of existence. Which is crazy to think about. And that's what they're going for. And they're trying to prove that gravity is a spectrum. Basically saying that like it
I
affects.
don't like to say they're trying to prove. They hypothesize.
No, that's what their intent is to do.
You shouldn't have an
They're
intent.
trying to. that's their theory, and they're trying to find empirical data to support that theory.
And hoping that they don't suck the world into a black hole in the process. But yeah, they're going to try and prove that the gravity is a spectrum, that it affects things differently, like light, time, space. It affects them all differently because it's bleeding over from another dimension. And so if they can prove this, they prove that it's a spectrum, and then they prove that other dimensions exist. Not in the form of like there's other us's or alternate dimensions, but like just
Exactly. Yeah. Don't let people.
I'm not saying that like there's another universe out there where other people are. I'm saying like a dimension of just gravity, a dimension of light, a dimension of time, stuff like that.
That's not as fun though.
No, it's not as fun, but it's definitely crazy. No, that is just as fun actually, because that changes physics completely.
I will say that is a lot of fun, but it's not as fun as
You want sliders is what you want.
innumerable multiple dimensions where every possible
A giant multiverse.
yes.
Yeah. The other cool thing that they'll prove is it's going to rewrite physics because it'll change the way that we look at the Big Bang, how we look at everything, because it will essentially show that instead of something coming from nothing, there will have been something there always, and then it changed drastically, and then our universe was created.
Not something there always, just something previous to our universe.
Yeah.
Because perhaps that universe was made by another universe.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
Like we're about to do with the black holes.
and perhaps maybe we're not going to find another universe. We're going to accidentally produce one.
No, that was my thought. I was like,
You're
what
welcome,
if,
other universe.
what if future universe, what if we just destroy ours and create a new one? Like, what if we create a Big Bang? Like,
That would really suck if like
we wouldn't know. It
all
would
of
be,
humanity came in like, and somebody like pushed a button to turn on the machine and just destroyed the universe.
But what if that's
it's
the
like
cycle?
Steve Urkel? Did I
no,
do that?
but what if that's the cycle though? What if that's how it all,
It's a cycle every time.
Oh, dude, yes, everything just evolves to that point every time where there's just a scientist like standing over the red button. He's like, "Okay, everybody ready?" And they're
So
like,
it's
"Yeah."
like
and he's
Lost.
like, "Boom!" And then it like restarts the universe, and
Big
it
Bang.
always just
Boom.
goes back to that. Dude,
it's Mighty
what a
Max.
cool idea!
No.
I'm saying, what if that's it? What if that's what happens?
I hate
what if next week
cyclical
Chase
ideas.
hates this idea.
we all blink out of existence, and then here in 100 billion years, we're right back in this room talking about it
I
again.
don't want to do that. I don't want to do it again.
Let's do it again.
That's insanity.
Let's
have
ride
no
again. It was
choice,
such a good
Chase.
ride, though.
It was a good ride. It's a good time.
Let it ride, let it ride.
No, honestly though, the chances of all those. I don't know. Crazy.
That would also mean, though, if that is what was to happen, that we were the first beings in the universe to get to that point.
Nuh-uh.
right
Not
on.
necessarily.
Team Humanity.
This
Why?
cycle around.
Oh,
Because if
well-
someone else had done it, if someone
Oh,
else had
right.
taken this step, it would have already reset.
Or maybe.
Oh, so supposing other species in the universe.
There would be no
Right.
way of knowing if that had happened, though. Right?
That's true, because
The
you could
universe
just as
wouldn't
easily.
be here.
You could just
See
as
what I'm
easily.
saying?
Well, no, but you could just as easily say that they didn't. They figured out. Well, they did the physics better and figured out. Oh, whoa, we better not do this.
We better not fucking
And then-
do... Oh, can I curse?
You can
Yeah.
guess.
Okay.
And then
He
they.
edits.
I do edit.
Nobody
More than
follows
you
us.
should.
Yeah. Also, we haven't published
That
anything
too.
yet. So.
Edit that out.
Yeah, I will definitely edit that out. So anyway, yeah, other species are like,
We have a sex bot.
We're
My
followed,
fault.
we're followed by a sex bot.
We are.
Celebrities followed by sex bots.
Okay, I got you.
We have a like on our Mixcloud account. There's a hey baby, chat with me.
Just a spam follow.
Like that girl that followed Cody the other day. It's that.
Yeah.
But
Cody's like, oh, all right, I got a friend.
on Mixcloud. So anyway, hey listeners.
Love you, Cody.
Oh, I don't even know what I was gonna say.
Edit all this.
Yeah, edit this whole bit.
Nope, I'm leaving it in. I'm just leaving it in. Just
We should
for-
like charge people $5 for the complete unedited episodes.
then they'll be like, oh, I wasted
For
$5.
For $5 a month, you can listen to like the hour of crap that we had to cut
For an
out.
extra $5, you get the parental advisory version. Unrated Black Mesa. What goes on behind the scenes?
Black Mesa After Dark.
VH1 edition.
They say dirty words like poppycock.
And muckluck.
Anyway. Yeah, what if the other races like skip over that? They're just like, oh no, don't do that. That'll reset that's the reset button.
That reminds me of
I
what
guess
we
that's possible.
talked about before, like other races in like the universe
I get what
were
you're
smart
saying.
enough
I didn't get what you were saying at first.
to not send out a signal to be like, hey guys, we're here, because they know there's bad crap out there. And they're like,
Yeah.
maybe we shouldn't notify our position to the whole universe.
The space monsters that want to eat us.
Right? What if the possibility is that, yeah, it's terrible.
What if the people out there are Americans that'll come try to colonize us?
So we're all Indians?
Yes.
No, actually, that's one of the biggest like arguments against letting any kind of first contact happen is basically space manifest destiny. Like another race will come in and be like, "We own you now."
That would be sweet justice a little bit, you know? Like, oh, dang it.
I feel like
Good game, America.
if the world like reached a point of like World War where it was like tearing itself apart, and then all of a sudden like we figured out that there was this other enemy other than us to fight out there to like unite under, I feel like the powers that be would like really like kind of push for that.
So, like,
Unless the powers that be are that other enemy.
What? Or like the reptilians that like live beneath the surface of the earth.
Yep.
next week,
everything.
folks, by the way,
Oh yeah, next week.
just a little quick snippet. It's going to be Conspiracy Week, and this time it's going to be about alien conspiracies. We're going to
Yeah.
read up on all the garbage on the internet. We're going to go into the muckraking and all the filth of the It's going to be so good.
It's gonna be fun.
Be there. I'm so
It's gonna
excited.
be a dirty good time.
I'm actually pretty excited too. It's gonna be a good one.
Yep. You're going to become an alien fan after next week.
No.
No.
Anyway,
I'm an alien fan, but what are they?
Dude, okay. Being a conspiracy theorist,
Are they demons?
okay, even if you don't believe in it, it's like reading a crazy book. There's so much out there, and you're
Right.
trying to piece it together and puzzle. Like, it's like you're
Yeah,
involved.
and everything means something.
Yes.
Everything fits something.
well, Seth, was it you?
You're writing your own story, kind of, but you don't know it because you're like picking pieces of other people's stories. Like, oh, well, maybe it means this.
Was it you or was it Nathan that I was talking about how there's a crazy conspiracy theory that says that Lady Gaga is JonBenet Ramsey?
Is who?
JonBenet Ramsey.
Who's that?
No.
The little girl that was kidnapped?
Yeah, that was killed in Colorado. She was killed, right?
When
They,
was that?
they never found
She
her.
was
They
like
don't
a
know.
child. She was a child model. This is in the 90s.
Yeah, she was like a pageant girl, and she just disappeared. They didn't find her body, Seth. Did they?
Okay.
I don't think they did because that was the big thing. Was
Everyone
that
assumes that there's some main suspect.
the
that they think
parents
killed
it's
her.
the dad is the main suspect.
Yeah. Okay.
But there's no way to prove it. Like she just disappeared. The mom sticks by his story. The dad and then they both had alibis, but they were like really shaky alibis. And there's no body was ever found. No evidence of struggle. She just was there one night and then gone. And they reported her missing in the morning. And then,
Probably warped gravity, like spontaneous black holes.
dude, I think about that so much. When someone disappears, I'm like, black holes.
Well, people believe in spontaneous combustion. Why wouldn't they believe in spontaneous black holes? Because the laws of physics say that there is a chance, a very small chance, that all the heat from a room would travel to one space and you would just explode. It's very scientific, not plausible,
Well, there's also-
but possible.
I mean, on that same level, then maybe it's not.
Why couldn't
spontaneous.
gravity pull into one section everywhere? If like, so light is a particle, part wave, part particle.
But
so
gravity's not a
would-
particle that we know of.
Well, I think everything, if we can go by current theories, if current theories are true, which they may not be, then gravity would be part wave, part particle as well.
I've always thought gravity was a wave. Like it
Well,
wasn't.
everything is wave and everything is particle. There's no difference.
That's
I
weird.
thought that was just light, or there's more.
No, everything.
No, yeah.
There is part of Maxwell's equations is going to state that, okay, if you throw a baseball at 70 miles an hour, it's going to become more wave than it was before at rest. If you throw it at 10,000 miles an hour, it's going to be even more wave until you get to the speed of light, which is kind of the threshold because we don't know anything that necessarily travels faster than the speed of light.
Right.
Becomes a certain percentage wave and certain percentage particle, which is interesting. Did you guys ever hear anything more about the faster than light particle? Because I read about it. They're like possibly a faster than light particle, and I never heard anything about it again. So maybe they just kind of poo-pooed that idea.
I've never heard.
I heard about it, but after that initial like, does it exist? I never heard anything else.
Me either.
The media does that a lot. Is it? Does it? And it's like, no, it doesn't.
Tonight at 10, a thing in your house that can kill you. Never mind.
But remember when we asked that question and it was fun for just like a second before we
Maybe,
realized?
have you guys read the article, or there's probably many articles out there about how the media really sucks at portraying science? Like they really just overhype it and make it, and kind of warp it into something that it's not.
Sensationalize it.
That's definitely the word I was looking for.
Yeah, and a lot of times when people talk about like loving science or whatever, like I remember there's a Facebook page that like a few of my friends have liked, and I think I probably liked it too, called like I love science or something like that.
Oh,
and
that's
it's like,
such a
it's not that you
terrible
love
site.
science; it's that you love like the things that like science brings us. Like that's what you're talking about. Because like science is a method, and it's boring. Like
Oh my God. Science is pretty much turning yourself into somebody who doesn't have reason. Like, it's really sad, but you have this method and you stick to it and you really don't, like, you initially question it to see if it's a good method. And once you decide it is a good method, you just kind of stick with it. And what it is, and what it isn't, it isn't. The problem is the human mind doesn't play that way. You can't just not question something. Everybody questions everything. Everybody puts their own bias, even into science. So it's really hard, even like in peer-reviewed articles, to not have some type of bias portrayed by your own worldview, your own wishes. Like, I wish there was a hollow earth theory. So I may accidentally put that into my article, even though I thoroughly don't believe in it consciously, but I want it to be there. So I might just kind of, tweak something a little bit where my article is no longer worth a hoot. I mean, that happens because we all have our presuppositions.
Yeah.
And we're not robots. So if we had robots to do science for us, it might work out better.
I think that's why I think the best thing to do as like an author, or like if you're gonna write an article or write a book or whatever, is just like tell people where you're coming from a little bit. Like tell them a little bit about like. Because, like, when you're reading a book of science, like, sometimes it seems like a waste of time for the author to talk about, like, this is my story. And it's like, I don't give a crap about your story. Just give me the facts. And it's like, but the facts are colored by their story. Like,
That is true.
That's why I can't stand Richard Dawkins, because everything I've ever read by Richard Dawkins starts and ends, and from start to finish, it's like everything is filtered through like the glass of his mind. But
he doesn't like address that.
I
haven't read anything.
No, he
about it.
doesn't, and it's in a pretentious way. It's like, well, intellectuals like me understand that blah blah blah. I'm just like, shut up, Richard.
Yeah, I don't like Richard Dawkins because he's an ass.
He is.
So.
I think most people don't. Like, we can all come under the umbrella no matter who or what we believe.
Hardcore atheist, dude. Like militant atheists love Richard Dawkins.
Well,
Was it Patton Oswalt that talked about how
They're
he
dumb and crazy.
how he listens to Richard Dawkins talk, and he's like, "This is how Christians must feel when the Westboro Baptist Church does things." Like,
Yeah.
it's like, no, we're not all like this.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, militant atheists are very much like fundamentalist Christians.
Yes. It's very
Very
similar.
Or whatever religion for the most
Yeah,
part.
honestly, any
Right,
religion.
but
Science is a religion to a lot of people.
It is.
Like,
Which is funny because when they deny that it's not their faith, like certain people, like you can't say like everybody, like their faith is in science, but those who do like, I believe in science, like, what do you mean you believe in science? That science is going to be your salvation, that humanity is going to live forever because of science? Like, maybe you just can't live forever. Maybe
That's
the
a
limits
transhumanist, though. That's a little bit different.
well,
Oh, wait, you mean humanity, not individuals?
both.
I listened to a transhumanist on the Joe Rogan podcast the other day.
Ah,
That's what I was
so it's
thinking
on your
about
mind.
Yeah.
Talk
Yeah.
about that. What is that?
that. Transhumanism?
transhumanism. It's
It's
interesting.
it's kind of like the point. You ever see Transcendence?
is it where you put your
Trans-
consciousness?
That's a part of it. It's
into a
not it's
machine.
not necessarily all that, but it's basically augmenting to where we're all either cyborgs or we're a collective cloud consciousness, or we are
One?
yeah, but or we're more machine than human, but we still have like our human attributes.
It's basically like the assimilation of technology into your consciousness and or like your body in order to like improve on yourself or whatever.
In Transmetropolitan, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So like there are degrees of it. Like you could say that somebody who has like, for instance, like if somebody has like a bad knee and then they get like a knee replacement and like now they can walk good again. Like you could argue that they're a transhumanist. Like you could argue that someone's a transhumanist for just carrying like a smartphone, because after a while it really does become like an extension of your consciousness.
It's true.
Like it helps you think and
You
like
can look
reach
up
out
anything
into
you
the
want.
world.
Dude,
yeah, and
it
know
does
things
help
and
me think,
connect
like-
to the people around you. So like transhumanism is like like I said, like the assimilation of consciousness into your body, into like who you are, like into your consciousness, blah blah blah.
Speaking of cell phones, I honestly feel like cell phones has changed me because I only use my cell phone for Googling, or I should say Binging, because I get Bing points now. But anyways, I'm not going to talk about which is better. We all know which is better.
Google.
Google. Everybody knows Google's better.
If you're listening, Google, you're better than Bing. Sponsor us.
Give me points and
Oh,
I'll
man.
call you better.
I don't want to be sponsored by Google.
I don't even
That's
care.
not true. I want to be
anyway-
sponsored by anybody that's willing to do it.
Yeah,
Like,
let's say
Anyone willing to give you money?
Yeah, that's the truth.
Because it's made me dumber in the fact that I no longer memorize things. But it's made me smarter in the fact that I have access to so much information that I can say to somebody, well, blah, blah, blah is true. And like, what's your source? I'm like, hold on. I'll search it real quick to see where I found it
It's
at.
the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Dude.
We have the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy now. Douglas Adams totally called it.
Yeah.
And there's like it's like an ancient Egyptian like story where like the god that invents writing or whatever, like he's talking to this other guy. Okay, like obviously my knowledge of the story is not very deep, but like the god that invents writing, he's like talking to this other god, and this other god tells him that like the invention of writing is like the end of like the intellect of man or whatever. And the god that invents writing is like, what are you talking about? And he's like, man doesn't have to know anything anymore. They can just like write everything down. Like they don't actually have to have anything in their head because they know that it's like
Seriously? I guess I've never heard this story.
That's-
before.
It's
yeah.
Thoth was the
so
god
like,
writing.
dude, it's crazy. Like when you look at some of like the ancient stuff that like these like ancient cultures were like thinking about and like I guess coming up with and stuff, it's like, dang, like
It's almost like there's nothing new under the sun because we
I
just
agree.
talked about
Here's the thing,
this.
though, is that wasn't the end of humanity, right? Like,
no.
wasn't that the point?
Well, yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I actually think that's a way that humanity will evolve, is that now that we don't have to
So you're a transhumanist.
quite possibly. Intelligence is no longer about memorizing rote facts, right? Because of the Google issue, because of Bing, whatever. Sponsor us, please. But now, and in the future, even more so, it's going to be about sifting through data and finding ways to find what you need.
Yeah.
As opposed to rote memorization.
Well, no, my coworkers.
Well, there is still some of that, but
Yeah, no, for sure.
Can I just read like a concise definition of transhumanism just to make like less
Sure,
confusing
Sure.
for anybody
And then I'm going
listening?
to touch on what you just said. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Transhumanism is an international cultural and intellectual movement with an eventual goal of fundamentally transforming the human condition by developing and making widely available technologies to greatly enhance human intellectual, physical, and psychological capacities.
So pretty much, yeah, science as a savior, it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, kinda, yeah.
But what you said, like how, the thing to strive for will eventually be who can make the fastest route to data instead of like who can pull upon data,
Right.
upon demand. My coworkers, there's a few of us that the whole office will ask us to Google things because like Googling isn't hard, but for some reason some people have trouble with it.
Yeah.
You have to have the right wording
Yeah.
to Google properly.
And so they'll ask me, they're like, Josh or Joanne, one of the two of us, they'll be like, we need you to find this. Like, can you do that? And I'll like, yeah, sure. And I'll look it up and I'll find it right away. Because I know how to Google. But
because you don't type out a whole sentence like, tell me what the definition of Zimbabwe.
How is Babby formed? Right? No. Wait. No. Sorry.
Anywho,
yeah, but anyway, yeah, so that's kind of like what you're saying. Like what you're saying. They somewhat admire that in the coworkers that can do that, that can find things faster. And I never understood it because I'm like, I just looked it up on the internet. That's not hard.
well, that's because you have a larger pool. Like, I think this is a catch-22. You have a larger pool of data to pull from because you have more memorized, so you can Google better. This kind of goes back to what, Nate, you were talking about with older scientists are way more awesome than today's scientists because they were the scientists of everything. There weren't biologists, chemists, physicists, doctors. Like,
So like Plato. Like he could
yeah,
hit it
were
all.
they were the Renaissance men.
Yeah,
they
you were everything.
Jack
you were
of all
a biologist,
trades.
a linguist, a chemist.
Yeah.
So
Like-
an artist as well, like painting and
Artist,
writing poetry.
And-
like you did it all. You were a jack of all trades. You could, man, how's that go? Jack of all trades.
King of none.
Actually, that's not how it goes.
Master of none.
No, that's not how it goes. It's master of one. Jack of all trades, master of one is the actual saying, and it's so you know something about everything and everything about something. That's the Renaissance man that Benjamin Franklin was talking about, which he probably stole that proverb from somebody else in his old farmer's almanac.
Some
He
of
had a
his
lot
proverbs he stole from Proverbs.
Yeah, he did do that. See, cause he had a huge wealth of knowledge that
Yeah.
he pulled into his own book. And so that's what I think Google is the same way with writing, like you were talking about in the Egyptian mythology. So it's definitely changing what humanity is. I don't want to say if it's better or worse, but it's changing how humanity functions, that we no longer memorize. We're no longer, I don't know what we would be if we were still jack of all trades, memorizing everything, good at literature, good at mathematics, good at
It's
science.
an interesting thought. We may very well be less advanced, but we could be more. You know, if everybody had that pool.
I just think it took us in a different direction. Like, we have gone so far with technology, but I think we could be lacking and maybe disintegrating in other areas of humanity.
Well, I think part of the jack of all trades thing came from because like science at the time was not advanced to the point it is now. And so like I think like if you study any scientific discipline, like for instance, if you set out to study like geology, like eventually you have to learn chemistry, like in order to learn more about geology. Like, and so like no matter what scientific discipline you're studying, you're going to reach the end of it. And like you have to learn a new one in order to like keep going.
Which means that everything's linked together.
Right.
So like,
I agree.
I guess I kind of argue from know everything.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. But I guess what I'm saying is that like back then, like when each scientific discipline wasn't advanced as it is now,
Yeah.
you couldn't spend a whole lifetime learning about geology because like maybe it was like a really new science.
Right. There wasn't that much information to spend a whole life learning.
Right.
Especially
and so to
'cause
make
you only
more
live
sense
today-
about what's happening with the rocks,
today
you just
there
have to know about the
definitely
chemistry.
is.
Well, you also only lived to 30, so.
Yeah.
So did we come to this place out of necessity? Like, we couldn't go any further?
Well, there's some definite benefits to specialization because, like, if you do spend that much time with one thing, you more quickly, like, can grasp the whole of it. Or
I get you.
Well, it's just like last week, George Washington Carver specialized in one thing, changed the world, you know?
Peanut butter.
Did he specialize though?
peanuts.
He did a lot of
He
really
definitely
different things.
specialized in peanut butter.
Well,
in,
that-
in peanuts. Peanuts.
Yeah, peanuts. Because he was an inventor who asked. We talked about this.
Yeah,
he
this
asked
was
God
last week.
to reveal the peanut to
Was
him.
this last week?
Yeah, that was with Denton last week.
God,
No,
seems
that
longer
was 2
ago
weeks
than
ago. That was totally
Was that 2 weeks ago?
Ah, I knew it.
I need to get to editing.
My folly.
Oh, I wanted to go back real quick to the transhumanist
Yeah, hit it.
thing. Have any of you read the Isaac Asimov short story, The Last Question?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, so good.
Because it hits on so much of what we've been talking about right here, like
Oh,
the transhumanist
guys.
What's
issue,
the guy's name?
Isaac
cyclical, the
Isaac
Isaac
Asimov?
Asimov.
You never heard
I
of
know who Isaac Asimov is, but I haven't read
He
it.
wrote
Isaac
iRobot. He
He's-
wrote Foundation.
Essentially the father of science fiction.
He invented the term robotics.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Someone had to.
He wrote
Chase.
the 3 laws
I
of
thought that was
robotics.
God.
No. What?
Is he God?
Yes. Anyway, Isaac Asimov is God, and he wrote a lot of really, 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 really awesome books.
I do love iRobot.
His characters are kind of wooden, but his like the concepts
Well-
that he plays with are incredible.
That's the great thing about, well, the Last Question. There aren't really characters. It's a short story. You can read it in an hour. It's available online.
The characters,
And I
are
won't
kinda
spoil it
archetypical.
because it's a freaking awesome story.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna read that.
But
Sounds cool.
Man, dude, for real, y'all should read that tonight. We should like touch on it next week. It's amazing.
During our
Yeah.
conspiracy theory rant.
Yeah, we got aliens. And we're not talking about the franchise Aliens and Predators.
No
and
one
stuff.
thought that.
AVP.
Just letting everybody know.
Okay, letting the listeners know.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
You're welcome, listeners. I'm your advocate, Chase. I'm the guy.
Listeners, he talks bad about you when you're not around.
No, I don't. I love you.
Anyway, so what about the last question? You were going somewhere with that.
oh, I just wanted to mention, I don't think I was.
Oh, you were just
going
saying that
anywhere.
it's relative.
It touches on a lot of different things that we've been talking about, like the transhumanist issue, like what would, like reset. Never mind. I don't want to.
Cosmic
Yeah.
reset.
Sorry.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back to gravity because
Gravity!
there's one point that I wanted to make that
Get the hell
if
away
gravity
from
is a
me.
spectrum and it affects different things differently, ironically, I would like to say you mentioned it that it would get rid of the need for dark matter and
Yeah.
dark energy.
Totally. Well, I didn't mention it on the podcast, listeners. I mentioned it when we were talking about this before we started the show.
Exactly. And that's what I'm an advocate for, because I find that there is no tangible evidence. There's only the necessity for it because it fits what we don't know. So it's the, I don't even know what to call it.
For our listeners,
It's the science of the gaps for people who
It's a placeholder.
know what the God of the
It
gaps
is.
is. Like, oh, well, God did it. That's what I call the God of the gaps. So the science of the gaps is, well, dark energy, dark matter did it. Like, it's really not anything. Like, well, there was a huge surge of dark matter and dark energy at this point in time in order for the universe to exist, and then it just disappeared. Like, oh, okay, that doesn't make sense.
for the listeners, Chase is like really anti-dark matter theory. Like,
Well, I'm
If you
anti
couldn't tell
don't
from
have
that whole
evidence.
say what?
If you couldn't tell that from
Yeah, if
that
you couldn't
little-
tell from his angry comparing it to saying God did it.
I understand where you're coming from, though. It doesn't sound very scientific. Like it. Well, but it's a placeholder. Like there's all kinds of placeholders.
That's exactly.
In physics. The
Thank
Higgs
you for
boson was a
saying that.
placeholder. Like when you have,
Higgs boson was, but they found it though.
they did. Yeah, they did, and that's
That just-
fortunate for physics, I guess.
That whole thing you just said, Chase, just makes me think how little we really know.
Well, think about before the 1940s when we discovered the electromagnetic spectrum, trying to explain the world then.
Right. Like,
So what other spectrum is out there that we are trying to explain with modern physics? And that's like trying to explain the world without the electromagnetic universe. Like, we're like, oh, that's dumb. You can't explain it without electromagnetics.
Mm-hmm.
But then we're trying to explain everything with electromagnetics now.
And that's the science behind this whole idea is that, I'm sorry, that's the idea behind this whole experiment is that if it is a rainbow, if it's a spectrum, then that explains, it fills in another piece of the puzzle of existence.
So instead of forcing a piece into the puzzle, you don't put any piece there and wait for the piece to come about.
But what do you do until then, Chase? You have to admit that you have to be able to quantify it somehow, like even if you don't understand it.
I guess I'm okay with not having an answer. Some people are I don't know. Like I'm totally okay with saying, I don't know. Let's find out. Like, I'll just take this little bit of fact and put it in my pocket for later because I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah,
just
but
yet.
you can't have scientific journals written on like one part of like quantum physics
you
and then
can't
go,
make money if you don't have any answers.
no one makes money off scientific journals except for the journal itself. The students
They
just get their
totally do.
degrees.
Okay, maybe the students don't.
But I'm just saying you
people
can't
make-
you
like-
can't you can't write. Hang
seriously,
on, hang
the
on.
company that I used to work for would pay $1,000 per scientific journal.
Proving that fracking doesn't cause earthquakes.
It doesn't matter what it's about.
Snap! Dude, is that what it was?
No, that's not what it was.
I was just
That's
curious.
so shady. Ugh. I'm
No.
so glad that's not what it was.
I was just messing with him.
I was like, you worked for an evil corporation. I'm so
No.
glad you got out of there.
I worked in the chemical section, so it was about the chemicals of the fracking. So like, oh, this chemical will help with the oil, expunging the oil from this type of soil formation or, so it really had nothing to do with geology and earthquakes.
But what I'm saying is you can't have a scientific journal like article that says, you know, this quantum physics, blah, 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 and then just not mention, like, if it has to talk about dark matter, you can't be like, and this part because we just don't know. Like, you have to say, like,
I think they.
With
I know,
current dark
I
matter
understand
theory.
that you can't say that, like, because that's the culture that's built up around it. But I think you should be able to admit that you don't know. Like, I mean, that should be a very large part of it.
It's just un-American to admit you don't know something, though.
that is a true story, though. It really is. Like,
But-
it's seen
Maybe
as,
it's just
it's seen as weak.
anti-human. It's inhuman to admit you have a lack of knowledge.
Well, no one likes to be wrong.
We
And
all
no one
have
likes
our
to
own
say we don't know.
hubris about us.
Also, if science is a religion to some people, and they don't know, that's kind of it's kind of scary, right?
Go ask
Well,
the
that's
priest.
the
That's exactly
priest
what he
of
was
science
saying, though.
must
That's
know.
like dark matter did it, science
what?
did it, God
The
did it.
priest of science must know. You got just go ask the priest.
Yeah, dude. Yes, exactly. Dude, the priests. Okay, so like you have the prophets, which are the scientists that actually like go to science and like get the information. And then you have like the pastors. So like Rob Bell is like to God, I guess, what like Neil deGrasse Tyson is to science. Like he takes the word and he brings it to us in a format you can understand, and it makes it easy for everybody to get.
What I took from that is Neil deGrasse Tyson is God.
What I took from
Right?
that is
Yeah,
that they both piss
sure.
off Christians.
What?
So what I took from that is that they both piss off Christians.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it's similar. And if you're saying something that they don't like, they like excommunicate you, just like the church used to do.
Totally.
And like, it's very similar in a lot of ways. And like they, you know, a lot of people who are super into science, like, are super against religion. And I think that's silly. Because when you turn it into religion, it's, I don't know.
And
Well, a
that's
lot
the
of people
thing.
that are into religion are really against
There
science
was,
too.
I watched a debate.
Right? See? Because they're playing for two different teams. They're like equal but opposite. It's like the same thing, but like,
So
They're
they
really not mutually exclusive.
no, they're not.
They should go together.
No, okay, yeah, and I didn't mean to say that either.
Like,
I,
no,
that,
I
it
know
really
you
did
didn't,
sound
but-
that way based
so
on
they're
what I said.
arguing.
A lot of
from-
people treat it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
arguing from bias and agenda, like both sides. Like, let's say there's a militant Christian and a militant Muslim and a militant atheist in a room together, and neither of them wants to concede that they might not have all the answers just yet. So they're all going to argue that they're right, and perhaps they'll use something that isn't necessarily identified in their holy book, whether that's Chemistry 101 or the Bible or the Quran.
So, you guys have heard the three Jesuses, right?
No.
The Jesus, the
Yeah.
three Jesus study.
Jesse?
So in 70 something, this asylum had these grad students come in and they took three dudes that all thought they were Jesus and they put them all in the same, like wing of this asylum for 6 months. I mean, they didn't let them do their day-to-day thing, you know, but each man who thought he was Jesus concluded that he was actually Jesus and the other two were insane. Like all three of them. That's
so cool.
isn't it?
But I was watching and listening to a debate between John Lennox. He is an Oxford professor of
John Lennox.
mathematics.
Yep.
He argues from the Christian point of view. I can't remember the other guy's name. He is like the lead writer or maybe the owner of Skeptic magazine, if you guys are familiar.
Yeah.
So it was him and John Lennox talking about, obviously the Skeptic magazine guy was an atheist and John Lennox, the mathematician at Oxford, was a Christian. But even the guy from Skeptic magazine was like, you can't use dark matter to explain it. It's the science of the gaps theory. He's like, I won't accept it just like I won't accept the God of the gaps theory. Until you actually explain it, I'm not going to hold it as real science. Just like when I read the article that Josh was talking about earlier about gravity being a spectrum, the Large Hadron Collider.
Did I post that?
No, you talked about it. I posted about it.
Was that you? That was you. Okay,
We
yeah.
started talking about
That's
it.
right. That's right.
So the guy who they were interviewing, the scientist that they were interviewing, was saying, okay, if we find another dimension, that doesn't mean that the multiverse is true. That's not a testable hypothesis. That's not science. It's philosophy. And I was like, thank God there's a scientist out there that's going to distinguish between their hopes and beliefs and what is provable and testable.
He did go on, though, in that same article to say, but if this is true, it'll rewrite science and philosophy.
Oh, it definitely will. I think it definitely will. I'm fine with that as long as that the facts are supported by their beliefs. I'm sorry, that their beliefs are supported by the facts. I said that in reverse.
I understood. This whole conversation, I had to look it up because I couldn't remember the exact quote and I don't want to mess it up. But it reminded me of the Heisenberg quote, which says, the first gulp from the glass of natural sciences will make you an atheist, but at the bottom of that glass, God is waiting for you. I just thought that was interesting.
Man, that's funny.
That is fascinating.
Heisenberg.
I've heard people, I know a guy that's going to med school, and like he was saying that like when he first got to college, like all of a sudden he felt like, cause like he went to college, he was like hardcore Christian, like no one's gonna talk me out of like believing in God, blah blah blah. But like he went to college, he started studying a little bit of science, and when he first started getting into it, like he found it harder to believe in God like all the time. And it got like harder and harder and harder. And then like the closer he got to actually getting into med school, and then after he got into med school and like really started getting into like the complexity of things and stuff, he was like, it like made him kind of want to believe in God like more and more again. Like that's so interesting. Cause like I've heard people talk about that before.
Heisenberg, the scientist, father of quantum physics, not Heisenberg, the Breaking Bad villain. Just throwing that out there.
You know, I'm such a nerd, I didn't even understand the second reference that you had there, because I haven't watched Breaking Bad yet.
Oh, it's so good.
I haven't either.
It's
I feel
great.
Like such a bad.
There's a
Television.
picture or a painting, I don't sorry, I don't know the artist, nor do I know what the painting is called. But it's a guy.
But it exists.
It exists. I've seen it. I swear to God. There's a guy who is trying to look over a fence, but he's not tall enough to look over the fence, and so he's looking at a picture that's a ray of sunshine and happiness and hope. But it's just a two-dimensional picture drawn on the fence. And then there's a second guy who is standing on books, and he's looking over the fence, and he's seeing
I've seen that.
the industrial pollution, and it's awful, and it's terrible. And that's the original picture. So pretty much saying, books gives you the knowledge that the world is screwed up. And I totally agree with that. The world is screwed up. But there's a second rendition of this famous picture of another person.
A third person.
Third person standing on even more books, and his head is above the clouds, and he sees the sunshine again. Anyways, Josh, what you were talking about very much
That's such a
reminded
beautiful
me of
idea.
that.
The
I
quote?
love that.
Or, I'm sorry, Nathan, that was you talking about the person who went to college. And
Oh, okay. I was like, I just said a quote. I don't know what. Yeah.
But the quote is like,
Yeah,
It's
they're
the
all
same.
on the same lines.
Yes, exactly.
Same train of thought.
I love that though. That's really beautiful.
So a little bit of knowledge gets you to realize that stuff is wrong. And then even more knowledge gets you to the point that there is hope.
Dude, I have been playing with the idea lately that like to be an optimist, like obviously it's harder to be an optimist than it is to be a pessimist, or at least it is for me. Like I think it is for most people, maybe.
I think I agree.
But like you don't have to know anything to be either. But like sometimes I think it's harder to be an optimist because like you have to know things, like you have to know what's going on in the world, like you have to know facts about like you know, things are getting better. Like you're less likely at this point in history to die at the hands of someone else than you have been at like any other point in history. Mm-hmm. Like things like that. Like it takes knowledge of like where the world's at to actually like build an optimistic point of view, like
Or
on
just
that or
complete
whatever.
ignorance.
I don't know. I don't disagree with you, but I mean, I'm an optimist. You guys know me. I'm optimistic. I don't feel like I know more than anybody else. I just feel like I feel
that way because I'm a natural pessimist.
Notice you guys both keep saying feeling, but you have to know, but you feel this way. So it's not what you think.
No, I just said I
what you
don't know
feel.
anything. I'm saying, so yeah, I guess you're right. Because I'm saying, I just feel like in the end, everything's going to work out.
If you listen back again, you both were saying feel a lot.
You feel.
You just said feel.
I know.
Before you said that.
I know. I agreed. I'm saying I don't.
I feel like Chase is probably right.
I'm saying he is right. I'm saying I don't know anything. I just feel
I
things.
feel like I don't know.
I feel that way a lot.
I feel you. Oh, dumb joke. Sorry, Josh. Okay, so.
Why'd you apologize to yourself?
I don't know.
Take it, Josh. Get it together. What's wrong with you? This is live.
No, it's not.
It could be.
There's no editing that happens in this at all.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Anyway, but yeah, no, I just eventually, I feel like everything works out for the better, usually. And it doesn't, obviously, but I can't help but feel that way.
I think it turns out good, but it doesn't always, but I feel like it does.
I feel like it will. Not it does.
I've been working with one
saying that's how I feel.
coworker lately. It's like me and this other guy, we've been on the road, we've been working on this job, like in a faraway town.
Faraway lands.
Anyway, and we're kind of like, it's like he's the only person I know out there, and like me and him working during the day, like I'm with him like 10 hours a day, like during the work week, you know? And he's like a super negative dude. Like he's always complaining about something, and he just like dwells on like every bad thing that happens, and it's like, ugh, like it wears me down. And so like for the first time in my life, I actually feel like I'm challenged to like strive to be positive because I feel like I need to be like
You can
for
do it.
this other person.
I believe in you. You can do it.
And I don't feel like I'm like an overly negative person necessarily. Like maybe you guys think I am.
don't think so.
I think I have a pessimistic sense of humor. Like sometimes to get a laugh, like I'll be kind of pessimistic. But
I agree with that. Your humor is a bit pessimistic, but you live in a pragmatic type of world, I feel like.
I think so.
You pragmatist.
But every pessimist calls himself a realist.
Every optimist calls a realist a pessimist.
I'm laughing because Chase took a
I like
quiz
that.
and found out he was a pessimist and he got all mad about it.
Oh
He's
yeah,
like,
I took a Facebook quiz. Done deal. Written in stone.
I feel like there are a lot of pessimists that think they're optimists too. Am I crazy to think that? Like,
Maybe
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I heard a quote. Somebody
I don't
said,
know. Like, I feel like a lot of pessimists think they're realists.
Every
well,
pessimist
there's
I
definitely
know.
that, but I think that there are some people who are like constantly negative about everything, but then they're like,
They're just so deluded.
yeah, maybe.
I heard somebody say, oh god.
But it's draining, isn't it? To go back to what you said, like,
Yes.
it's absolutely draining
Agreed.
to be around someone who's that negative all the time.
I heard somebody say, optimists believe we live in the best of all possible worlds. Pessimists are afraid they might be right.
Oh, that's
That's one of my favorite quotes about that. I don't
That's a
remember who
good
said that.
But to be around negative people is draining because you have to have enough hope for two people. And having enough hope for
Yeah.
one person can be difficult in itself because life is hard. But you can do it. And then when the second person is like, you have to be my hope too, you're like, dang it.
I've worked with people. I mean, I'm an optimist to the core, and I've worked with people that are just frustrating to me because nothing is ever good. From the moment they get into the office, they're just like, ugh, I'm here, blah.
Doesn't that make you feel like you're in the right place? Because out of all of us, you definitely have the most optimism. I'm not going to label anybody, but you have more optimism than the four of us. So like, you tend to be in this career where you lend over your energy to other people because
Try.
honest to God, you have too much. And I'm glad you took this job because you were a little bit overbearing for a while.
I'm glad you, yeah.
In what
That's so true
regard?
about optimists sometimes. It's like, oh my god, dude, stop being so positive.
I'm
That is
sorry.
so annoying.
No, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry at all, actually.
I was just giving you a hard time. I'm just joking.
I don't know how I got on that, but yeah.
I don't know. That's funny, though.
Perception
Gravity.
is everything.
It's working against me.
And then it turned to a musical.
Gravity wants to bring me down.
But yeah, I don't know. I have had people, I'm not trying to talk about me, but I've had people.
Let's talk
I
about
want
you.
to talk about me.
Let's not do that. But I have had people say, you know, that having an optimist around helps them to channel that, I guess, and
Honestly,
get rid of it, get
coming
rid of the
from
negativity.
a place of struggling with depression when I was younger, mainly in my college years. That's when I really started to hang out with you again, Josh. I know we grew up together, but
Yeah.
there was a time where I just kind of lost touch with my early childhood friends. And being around an optimist was so important. Like, I'm not just going to say, like, you, Josh. There were other people around.
Nope, it's all me.
Just
Claiming it.
having people with a healthy lifestyle, being around those type of people is really important because people who want to change but don't change anything about their life can't do it. Like they don't change their friends. Like I know so many people who would get together with a significant other, be like, no, they need me. I can't leave them. They need me. Like, well, either you have, anxiety problems and so does your significant other, or you have drug problems, so does your significant other, or you have some other problem and so does your significant other. All you guys are doing are enabling each other. Like, I understand what you're doing. I totally get it. And just go do it real quick. Just do it. Like, no, if you want to get out of it, don't hang around the same type of people as you. Like, it's not going to work out. And I honestly believe in that stupid old proverb that my parents always told me is like, you are who you hang around. And it really is true.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Like, I'm sure we all heard that growing up.
Yeah,
You know,
totally.
just like, be careful who your friends are. Your friends are gonna define who you are. And as a kid, you think that that's really dumb. But the older you get, the more you realize how much truth there is.
God, I hate when your parents are right.
No, I agree.
right?
Like, we hang out, our specific group that listeners, the four of us, and then there's about probably 9 of us altogether that hang out regularly. I feel like the personalities play off each other well, and that,
All very different is what I like
yeah.
about it as
But,
well.
I mean, I'll be talking with my coworkers about their friends, and I'm like, I'll be saying something that we were talking about, and they're like, why were you talking about that? I'm like, because that's the kind of stuff we talk about. And they're like, who talks about that kind of thing? Who talks about space for like 6 hours? And I'm like,
I do.
we do? Like, who talks about books for 4 hours? I'm like, we
I was talking about this with Isaac the other day, and he was just talking about like, I have a friend named Isaac. Anyway,
what?
for the listeners, whatever. Anyway, maybe he'll be on the podcast someday. I don't know.
We should have Isaac on. That would be awesome.
It would be awesome.
Dude,
but-
I totally saw smoke coming out of your mic and I thought
I
it was
did
on
too.
fire.
My mic is on fire.
I was like, Josh! But then I saw the vape. And
vape pen. Anyway,
Okay.
continue.
But anyway, he was just talking about how unimpressed he was with, because he was like, we talk about stuff like things that kind of matter ish. Like he was a history major and stuff, so like we talk a little bit about history and we talk about
I
like
didn't know Isaac was a history major.
we philosophize, we like sit around and kind of like philosophize
really cool.
like we do or whatever and
Yeah.
stuff. Like we have, I'm not gonna say like I'm an intellectual, but we have conversations that like strive for intellect, like we strive to have intellectual conversations. I
Betterment
guess.
of the intellect. Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So anyway, like, that's the kind of conversation we have. Like, we just kind of naturally have that. And it's like, it's not forced, but that we're both interested in that. Like, that's the kind of thing that's where the conversation always goes. And like, kind of like what you were saying, like, he was talking about it and he was like, but most people don't do that.
Yeah.
Most
And that-
people talk about people.
Or reality shows.
So
Which
people-
is people. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That weirds me out, man.
And I was like, that's so sad. Like,
But no-
and I thought about it and like, he's right. Like,
yeah,
my, like, I'm not gonna rag on like specific people, but like,
good call.
I know people who like it. You can't talk to them about like stuff like that. Like you can't do what we're doing right now. Like you can't talk about life and like science or like whatever. Like you can't
Philosophy.
talk about the things that matter. Like they just don't care about that. And it's so sad. Like
I think you hit it. You can't talk about things that matter. And I'm probably the worst offender of offending people because the old saying is, if you want to keep friends, you don't talk about religion and you don't talk about politics. And I really love to talk about both of those.
That's not why you're the biggest offender. You're the biggest offender because when someone starts talking about something you don't care about, you stop listening.
Well, that's another one. That's
I'm sorry, what did you say, Josh?
Exactly. You Charlie Brown it, man. You're just like, wah, 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 wah.
Well, it's because they're talking about some reality TV show, the gold one, the gold one. Yes.
They're talking about, that's a really interesting show, the gold one.
The gold
Yeah.
one. What's the,
The golden child. That's
The Golden
what
Girls.
That's what I
The
meant.
gold, I love the Golden Girls.
it was really funny.
It was. Thank you for being a friend. That might be the theme song to my life. Holy crap. I was gonna say that it was Why Can't We Be Friends by Smash Mouth, but Thank You for Being a Friend might be my theme song.
I just can't
I
watch
think it is, Josh.
entertainment
I think it's
tonight.
Thank You
It's
for
just
Being
the
a
worst.
Being a
It's
friend.
just-
That's because you're not a vapid person.
It's the epitome of what's wrong with America.
No, TMZ is the epitome of what's wrong with America.
I didn't. Yes, you're totally right. I forgot that there was something worse.
TMZ always comes on after the local news. And like my parents always watch the local news, and like they'll just like leave the TV on because like we'll be eating dinner during the
That's
local
why
news.
TMZ gets ratings.
We'll be like eating dinner during the local news, and then like my parents will start washing the dishes, and I'll like sit down in the living room. And I'm just like staring at the TV screen watching TMZ, like finding that I like care about like why do I care about this? Like I don't, but I'm like for
It's
something
oddly
about
compelling,
it draws
isn't
me
it?
in. Yeah,
It's oddly compelling.
It's the formula
It
that they
is.
use. Honestly,
It
they
is.
make it's science. Like as weird as that sounds.
and then like I break out of the trance,
Science.
and I'm like, God, what am I doing? And I
It's
like change the channel.
sociology.
yeah, no, it is. It's heavy sociology. They know exactly.
Well, and it plays on the. It's science in that it plays on the way your mind works.
Yeah,
and the
they
way
trigger
things
your
are
mind.
drawn to.
Yeah, they trigger your mind to follow flashing lights. The way that they talk really fast. They keep everything going to where you're drawn in naturally, and it's evil.
They have the facade of information and learning because they keep throwing it out there really fast, and it's constantly changing, and your mind is absorbing all this, and it's like eating cotton candy. You're like, oh God, yes, it's so good. And where did it go?
It's delicious.
There's nothing here except for empty, fattening calories. Now I look like a total jackass, and I feel horrible after watching this.
I love cotton candy so much, though. Mary was talking about at her last job. She was hanging out and talking with some coworkers, and she was at the time North Korea was doing something. I don't remember what they were doing.
They're always doing something.
Yeah, she was wanting to talk about
Nuclear
that,
testing.
and like she brought it up 3 different times at lunch when she was with her coworkers at her old job, and 3 different times they changed the subject while she was mid-sentence to talk about Dancing with the Stars.
Oh my God.
And she was just like, I'm done with these people, and she started having lunch by herself.
That's so sad.
It is sad. She doesn't, like, at least where she's working now, there are people that can talk with her. But where she used to work, man, they just, ugh.
I feel that. I totally feel it.
You guys want to go for another 15
Yeah.
minutes and then call it?
Let's do it.
Because we've gone an hour.
Cool, man. This conversation's gone pretty well.
That went fast.
Let's call an hour and
That
15.
did go really fast.
Seth, I've liked what you said so far. I'd like to hear more from you.
Thank you.
Just start talking.
Start talking.
Just rant. Just rant.
What do you
for a
want to
am I
talk
gonna
about
talk
tonight?
about?
What's
What's on your mind,
Oh,
man?
what
So
sucks
this one-
about work today?
I was thinking about this. Speaking of not listening to something you're not interested in, At some point during the conversation, I kind of zoned out and was thinking about. It was an interesting article I saw recently on science, and then it was reinforced with. I watched the first episode of a show called Brain Games.
I love that show.
It's good.
It's so good.
Okay, so the first episode they talk about color a lot and noticing color.
The
and
perception
one of the things
of-
they say, like it's seriously like one line in the show, but they say color does not exist. Like there's just light, and it's like your brain putting on it that makes color.
Yeah.
So I can't remember where I saw it. Somewhere on Facebook. Someone linked that, like, in all cultures across the world, or almost all cultures across the world, blue is the last color to show up in writings. And they can trace the development of different colors. So, like, when Homer wrote the Odyssey and the Iliad, right, he doesn't use the word blue at all. He never uses the word blue. He describes the seas as like a deep wine color.
Wow.
No one ever describes the sky as blue.
What? Okay, so hang on.
My
Why?
mind is blown. Right
I want to know why. It
hurts.
Is there a reason? Did they explain it? Or were they just like, this is a thing?
They don't fully explain it. I'll see if I can find the link and send it to you
So
guys.
saying
That
throughout
is
history,
crazy.
blue tends to show up around a
So-
common time frame.
No, it shows up last. So the primary colors show up first in varying
Well,
orders.
blue is a
Blue is a primary color.
Blue is not primary.
Blue is one of the three. Red, yellow, blue.
I thought it was green.
No, green is a combination of blue
Well,
and yellow.
okay, it depends on what you're talking about. Visually, the primary colors are red, blue, and green. But in like the color wheel of an artist, it's going to be yellow, blue, and red.
I've always been terrible at primary colors, so
No, that's okay. Like I was playing.
I don't colors.
I don't color.
I'm colorblind, and I tend to know the science of colors very well.
Yeah, Chase
Because he has to explain it to people all the time.
literally
That's true.
because he's wearing a pink shirt and they want to know why.
What?
Not now. Chase. I thought it was white. Mary had a coworker the other day that was playing Trivia Crack, and she got really mad because it asked for the three primary colors, and she said red, blue, green, and got it wrong. And she was like, "This app is messed up. That's the wrong answer." And Mary's like, "No, it's red, blue, yellow." And they argued back and forth, and Mary had to look it up and show her that it was red, blue, yellow.
People get confused because they'll read something where, yes, the three primary colors of the eye are red, blue, and green.
Mm-hmm.
But in the scientific color spectrum of what we can create is red, blue, yellow, which always blows my mind. Why do you have green cones?
Why are they different?
In your eyes? Why don't you have yellow cones? Which makes it really interesting, since green is a combination of, as we know, scientifically speaking, of blue and yellow. How does your mind produce the color green? Better question, how does your mind produce the color yellow? Because it's merely the absence of the color blue.
Yeah, because it doesn't have the cones to pick it up without it. So
Yeah. What the hell?
what it means is that there's a whole other aspect of the spectrum that we don't understand that's impacting.
or there's
Is
a
your
whole
mind
other-
tricking you, just like
Yeah.
interpreting it in some way
They're
that to make it make sense.
Well, that's what the whole point of brain games. That
We're
whole
missing
episode
the
was.
process
Your mind
that
is
happens
lying
in
to you
between.
all the time.
Yeah, constantly. Your mind is constantly lying
Well.
to make sense of things.
Maybe this is just like we talked about before. We know enough that the mind doesn't make sense. But if we learn more, the mind no longer is lying, but it's telling the truth. Maybe it's,
it goes full circle.
That next level up.
yeah,
We're just on the second tier right now. We need to get more
Interesting.
books under us.
possibly.
So in John Dies at the End, and in This Book is Full of Spiders.
So I think
both.
so far that has come up every episode.
No, I took a 2-week break
Oh, really?
purposely
Okay.
because I realized I had brought it up every episode.
You did.
But it's because it relates to everything. It's such a good book. So he talks about how your mind interprets things to keep you from going insane, and that your mind purposely lies
Yeah.
to you so that you don't
Yeah.
question your reality and then thusly
Get in
weaken
some
the
Lovecraft here.
yeah. Well, you weaken the integrity of your mind by going insane, and that is kind of Lovecraftish. And well,
Yeah,
that-
his mind
so-
is like that people like shut down so they don't go insane.
yeah.
So
when
like
they
the
see
three
these
Jesuses.
things.
God, Lovecraft is awesome.
Or like the three Jesuses, or perhaps a total shutdown of the mind, like you just
Yeah.
said. Like, it didn't happen, or I'm completely insane. That's
No,
pretty much.
I'm saying they're crazy. Is what
They're
the three,
crazy.
Is what the three Jesuses were. The Jesus. But no, in the book,
Jesse.
like, he talks about how he's like, you hear about farmers who see aliens or someone who saw Bigfoot in the woods. They didn't really see any of those things. Those things don't exist. What they're seeing is, and in the book, it's like a shadow man, like a demon kind of thing. And he's like, but your mind can't comprehend it. It's so unearthly because it's an extra dimensional being that they're imposing this. Your brain just
I actually agree with that.
you'd like the book, I promise.
Before we get too far away from it, I just want to say, if you haven't liked Jason Silva on Twitter, who's the host of Brain Games, like that dude or follow that dude on Twitter. He is awesome. He shares the best articles. And he's kind of like a transhumanist technology philosopher.
Jason,
techno-philosopher.
Interesting.
Can you
I haven't
mention?
followed him. I'll have
Can
to
you
do that.
mention
He's
our
awesome.
show on your show? That would be so
Yeah,
good.
That would be a really nice.
Black Mesa Radio on
we
Brain
scratch
Games.
your back, you scratch ours.
But ours won't be as satisfying because we're
One day it will be when our audience has grown.
Anyway, like I wasn't trying to change the subject. I was just trying to throw
Well,
that out
I wanted to go back to the color thing because like one thing I was going to say is they did experiments with it. So like there are indigenous cultures currently that don't have a word for blue, right?
What?
Yeah. And so they showed them basically like think of
A color wheel?
sort of, but every color is green and there's one blue, right?
What?
So like 10, right?
But different, were they different shades of green?
10 squares. No, they're all the same green and one is blue. So they asked these people from this culture that they don't have a word for blue to pick out the blue square or to pick out which one is a different shade. And they couldn't do it.
What?
They failed at it a lot.
wait.
But the same culture has like 20 different shades of green, right?
Because that's pretty much mostly what they see.
Right. And so they had another color wheel with all green squares, but one a different shade, right? To match up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they picked those out quickly. But we can't pick that out because we don't have the word for that shade of green.
So, do you think it's not DNA? You think we all have the DNA to
It's-
do that? But
I think
about
it's learned behavior.
yeah, exactly. Learned behavior.
Dude.
That's really fascinating because, okay, for DNA wise, we know that there are people with 2 cones, which limits you to about 1,000 less colors. I'm sorry, it should be like 100 times less colors.
Okay.
And then there's people with 3 cones. Those are the normal people. You know, everybody like you and not me.
Those
'cause
normies.
I'm deficient. We do know that there are some people out there that have 4 different types of cones.
What?
So it's just a
So what do they see? Do they just see a color that I can't perceive?
exactly.
Yeah.
So-
What?
So
They
essentially
see shades of color that you can't see.
they start
That's
to see
insane.
in the UV spectrum. So most of these people are artists.
Do black lights freak them out?
I don't know.
Question. How do I know that I can't see that?
I don't know.
Like, how do we know that Nathan or Seth can't? Well, we know you can't, but like, what if one of those...
oh,
I'm not
very
being
funny.
rude. I'm just saying we know you're colorblind. And I'm saying, but how do we know that like Nathan's not super colored?
Maybe.
I'm saying, what if he has
Okay.
hypervision?
So most people so just speaking of the difference between men and women tend to have a better perception of color in general with however many types of cones. If you have a woman with 3 cones and a man with 3 cones, the woman tends to have a better understanding of color. That's just the nature of the beast. Just like with men, we tend to have a better perception of precision. So we see sharpness a lot better, while women, the sharpness isn't as prominent, but they see colors better.
Which is why when you're buying a TV, they'll show a really crisp, colorful image to appeal to both sexes.
Well, yeah. So depending on, I actually learned this from working at Circuit City. So you got to sell to who, the person that's in front of you. So if you're with a woman, you show them the Mitsubishi because it has the largest colorful spectrum. But if you're showing a male, you're probably going to show them a Sony or a Samsung because they're much more crisp, but the colors aren't as rich. Which is
Interesting.
It is really interesting. So this kind of plays into
And it's interesting that filters down all the way to the level of sales employee at Circuit City.
yeah.
Like,
Well, capitalism. I mean, it allows for
Right.
everything.
Capitalism makes you learn a lot of stuff so you can make money.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. It increases knowledge to a certain extent. But so that shrimp that has 16 different cones,
Rainbow shrimp.
the rainbow shrimp,
Not rainbow.
Mantis shrimp.
16?
Mantis. Oh, the mantis
It has
shrimp.
And we
six-
have 3?
Yeah.
3 normally.
It's the
yes.
mantis shrimp, and it's more than 16.
I thought.
No, it's like 16.
Hang on. Looking it up.
Anyways,
Holy smokes.
it's approximately, they can see 1 million more different colors than we can, just with, let's say 12 more cones. So if you had one more cone, let's say a 3-cone person versus a 4, they would see, I don't know the math right off the top of my head, 1,000 different
Oh, yeah, you're right.
colors.
It's 12 photoreceptors.
Oh, I'm sorry, 12.
Not 16.
No,
Oh, I
So-
thought he said 12. No, you said 16?
I said 16.
Oh, yeah, it's 12.
Somebody
I was
said
way
16.
off.
What did you say? 86?
I don't even know what I said. I
He
think
was like, it's way
I thought it
more
was
than
100.
437?
I thought it was 112.
We all know that Josh is the guy who overestimates numbers.
A lot.
all the
It's
time.
bad.
So just
I admit it.
whatever he says, cut it in half, and we're there.
And then cut it again.
Cut it in half, and then cut it in half again.
So, okay, they have,
just to be safe, take about 10 or 12 off after that.
according to this, the mantis shrimp has 12 types of photoreceptors. Mantis shrimp, okay. 12 types of photoreceptors. Humans only have 3. They have 6 rows of differentiated receptors, exist on those, photoreceptors. It allows them to see both circular and linear polarized light and hyperspectral colors.
So pretty much colors beyond our perception, like ultraviolet and infrared, and perhaps somebody could see colors in the X-ray range would be, wow. So it's pretty cool. So most people with 4 cones can see in the ultraviolet. So like they can see in the B spectrum of flowers and such. So they see things that they painted it like, look how beautiful this is. And you're like, yeah, that's a cool field of flowers. Like, no. Look at the flower. Yeah. You don't see it? No, I don't. It's cool.
But that happens with you sometimes with your, like the way your cones are set up, because
Yeah.
we were walking, back when we were at my parents' house, when I lived there and we were working out, I remember we were walking from the barn to the house one evening, and you know how at, like, late evening, how the UV light kind of arcs over the atmosphere and
Yeah.
you get kind of a blacklight effect on some things? So, we were walking and, like, Chase just stops and he's staring at this little, like, purpley flower, and he's like, that is insane. And I'm like, what? And he goes, that flower is like glowing purple. And I'm like, it's kind of purpley. And he would like, cause his eyes are different than mine. And so he was seeing this like insane flower.
It was pretty much a color that I'd never seen before, it felt like. So I was like, wow.
Dude, that had to be a crazy experience.
That's a, something that my English teacher in high school was like, I want you to explain the color red. Like, if
It's impossible.
you were talking to a blind person, explain the color red. And that's kind of what we're talking about. And like, I really didn't write very much at all. It's like, it's passionate. And that's pretty much all I had. But
That's kind of where
To
that's what
explain
it is
the
with
color
blue.
red without using the color red.
right. And that's kind of what we're talking about with the color blue. Like, you essentially have to have an epiphany as an individual and then as a culture and then as a collective group of humanity to get this color blue. Which is really blowing my mind because I really haven't read about that. But what you're
that
saying
is so weird.
I'll try and see if I can dig up the link.
Please send that to us. And then I'll post it in the hyperlink for in the description for the video, or the podcast.
But I wonder if the same thing happens with music. That people can hear or perceive tones and pitches better than others. So while
Well, yeah, no, 100% that's true, because that's
Well,
what
some people will find a certain painting more fascinating than another. Be like, I don't really get this painting, and somebody else is like, wow, this totally inspires me, because they can't perceive it. They literally don't see the same thing. So maybe somebody with music says like, your taste in music sucks. Well, it's either because they have a limited spectrum or a larger spectrum than the other person.
or they're pretentious.
Or they just
Can't
have
both be
a
true.
knack against hating everything that everybody else hates.
That's true.
Or likes, I mean.
Hipsters. But no, there are people, like, I know guys, Austin Valdez, I talked about him last week. He's the drummer. He's one of our 3 drummers in the band. He has perfect pitch. And it's ridiculous. Like, I have near perfect pitch. I don't have perfect pitch, but I'm near it. He has, like, dead on perfect pitch, which means that he hears a note and he goes, that's a G, that's an E, that's an A, that's an A flat, that's a B.
I wish I could do that.
like
That's
I'm
impressive.
I'm close. I'm good with the basic chords just because and I think it's just because I've done it for so long.
Yeah.
But it's just like lightning fast with him. And
Do
it's
you
insane.
think if from a very young age, like maybe 3 or 4 years old, you were introduced to the, for lack of better words, the science of music, you could have done that? So do you think it would be a better learned behavior?
I don't know. It depends because a lot of kids who have music forced upon them tend to hate it. Todd Moran.
Well, they tend to hate it, but that doesn't mean they're
But
not
he's
good at it.
freaking good.
Yeah,
at
Todd
it,
Moran
though.
is one of the most talented musicians I've ever met, and the only instrument he likes is the bagpipe because that was the only instrument he was allowed to choose growing up, according to him.
I mean,
he
I understand
hates
it, but he's
everything
still
else that he
freaking good.
No, he's amazing, but he hasn't touched a piano in like, what, 5 years probably?
Dude, I can't even tell you how many times we've tried to convince him to pick the cello back up.
The cello is my favorite instrument.
And he won't touch it.
rad.
He was one of the
It's a
best
rad
cellists that I've ever heard.
instrument.
Not that I've heard a ton of cellists, but I've heard a lot.
He made
And-
money playing it. And, like, if you make money playing it, you're good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Capitalism. The free market has spoken.
Well, they can't tell that I suck, so I'm going to play this.
Honestly.
Well, yeah.
That's what I feel like my life motto should be when it comes to music. Kids who have it forced on them from a young age are just kind of, they don't tend to want to continue on in it.
I think the answer, as nature versus nurture always is it's both.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
like,
Parquinodos.
you would get better at it if you started from a young age,
Mm-hmm.
but there's definitely some
What about the third dimension?
born in. What is the third dimension of
Nature,
versus nurture?
nurture, and choice.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay.
Nature
But-
versus nurture always says that you don't get a choice in what your life turns out to be. Either your parents made you that way or your DNA made you that way.
That's an interesting way to look at
Wait,
it.
is.
if you're wait. Okay, never mind.
So
Never mind,
nurture
never mind. I got
is-
you. I got you.
okay. Parents and society and nature
Genetics
is
or
DNA.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about what you decide? Are you?
But I thought your
Once
decisions
again-
is what you're talking about when you're talking about nature versus nurture. Is
No,
it the decisions you make. Why do you make that decision? Is it nature or nurture?
So that's again. So maybe that's what you're arguing is a choice, actually a choice, or is it thrust upon you based upon previous events in your life?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Exactly.
I guess. Does free will exist? I think it's up in, well, this is the, oh my god, this is a whole episode, but like,
Does free will exist?
never mind. We don't have
Is
to
the
do
same
this.
thing as are you a
We can just
rational
bang
agent?
out 2 episodes right now.
No, we can't.
So
I do
if-
not have time to do that.
if you argue, real quickly, if you argue that your choice is nurtured, I can't take you seriously because whatever events happened previously in your life dictate what you're telling me right now. And I can't believe you because it's not a rational decision. You haven't decided that. Somebody else previously decided that for
But
you.
we talked about that to
from the
start off the
beginning
podcast.
of the
is
Big
that,
Bang.
That no one is truly rational. Like, everyone has biases that infects every decision that they make.
100% true.
But is that decision have a 20% bias? 80%? 100%?
It doesn't
Yes.
matter. A bias is a bias. It means
yes to all.
it's gonna influence your decision.
So the devil made me do it is a legit answer.
Yeah, to some degree.
I don't know how you got there.
Oh, you said
But
to some
sure.
degree. You said a bias is a bias. But if you say the devil made me do it to some degree, how much? 20%? 40%?
It doesn't matter. It still influenced your decision.
That's what I'm saying.
That was my
So-
point. My point
so
was
your point is 100% or 0%.
no. My point is a bias is a bias. If you whether you're a little biased to hate, I don't know, something. I hate Kias. We'll say that. I don't.
I
hate
really
Kias.
thought you were going to say Jews.
I'm not gonna, whether you're a little biased to hate,
that
say,
sounds like something Josh would say.
that's gonna both
Racist! Racist!
everything you guys say is gonna be edited out. So
Because you're the editor. That's a jerk move.
yeah, that's how it works.
Josh looks so good in all of our podcasts for some reason.
The guy who's willing to do all the work who gets to make all the decisions, that's not fair.
I
Anyway,
really wasn't racist. I was just making a joke.
I know.
And it wasn't even a racist joke.
I'm not even gonna edit that out. I'm just gonna leave it in.
Whatever.
I don't even remember what I was gonna say now. It doesn't matter.
You're
That's
talking
right, it
about-
doesn't.
We're
I'm
going.
sorry, I totally
Biases.
threw you off, Josh.
That you're fine. We
But
went-
you don't have to take my word for it. We're going to end this show with
Dun-dun,
LeVar
dun.
Burton. So thank you for listening to Black Mesa Radio, and we'll see you next week with Alienware. I mean, wait, no,
It's
just
not even
just
what
just,
it is.
just aliens. Just aliens.
Conspiracy theories.
Conspiracy theories.
Just aliens. Alienware is a brand. Of
Alien
computer.
underwear.
Alienware. If you want to
Alienware is
sponsor
a
us,
computer, right?
Alienware,
They
it's like
wanna
Tupperware,
jump
but
on us.
better.